If you've got a moment, I've got a story worth telling. Out on the frontier, stories don't travel far. The ones that do usually cost someone something.
Chapter 35. Fracture of the Soul. Stone's blade hovered a breath away from Mac's throat, its edges shimmering with a light that wasn't fire so much as the raw stuff of power. It cut the air with a hum, promising to end him cleanly, utterly. Mac didn't dare flinch. He'd been braced for death before, but never like this. Never at the hands of a brother he'd once trusted with his life. Stone's eyes were molten and hollow all at once, twin furnaces feeding on something neither man nor machine. But in the molten swirl, Mac caught a flicker, a hesitation, a crack in the surface. "Do it then," Mac rasped, his throat raw with dust and blood. "But look at me while you do it. Don't hide behind that bloody glow. Be stone, not this puppet." The blade trembled, only slightly, but it did. The silence that followed stretched into something unbearable, filled with the scrape of alien machinery grinding against itself, as though the entire chamber sensed the pause. Stone's voice came, layered and fractured, one tone deep and mechanical, reverberating like an ancient engine, the other hoarse, human, worn with memory. "Judgment is absolute." "Mac!" The two voices collided in the same breath, leaving Stone reeling. He staggered back a step, still clutching the blade, his free hand gripping his own skull as if to keep it from splitting. Light bled from the seams in his armor, flaring, then dimming, as though some unseen furnace within him fought for breath. Ace coughed from where he lay sprawled against a broken strut, his body bent at angles that should have been fatal. Blood painted his lips, but his eyes, dim though they were, locked on Stone. "Don't let it take you," Ace whispered. His voice barely carried, yet it sliced through the roar in Stone's head. "You're still one of us. I can feel it." Stone let out a guttural sound, part snarl, part sob. His wings, those impossible constructs of molten metallic light, flared wide, then crumpled inward like broken scaffolding. The chamber answered in kind. The walls pulsed with light, glyphs flickering in unreadable patterns, machines dormant for centuries whirring awake only to groan and falter, as if the crown itself shared in his convulsions. Mac pushed himself to his knees, spitting blood. "Ace is right. You're in there, mate. I don't give a toss how deep they've buried you. You're bloody in there." "Silence!" the vessel's voice roared, echoing so violently that shards of alien stone cracked and fell from the ceiling. But behind it, raw and small, another word slipped free. "Brother." Stone collapsed to one knee, blade biting the floor, gouging molten grooves into the alien metal. His breaths came ragged, smoke seething from his mouth with each exhale. His face shifted, half encased in living metal, half stripped bare, sweat and blood streaking the skin beneath. Mac didn't move closer, but his voice cut steady and sharp. "There he is. That's him. You hear that, Ace? That's our lad." Ace gave a broken laugh that turned into a cough. "Could have fooled me, mate. He looks like a bloody cathedral on legs." The humor, thin as it was, jabbed at Stone like a hot iron. His eyes snapped to Ace. For an instant, something recognizable flashed there. Guilt, fear, the faint spark of a man who remembered who these two were. The vessel inside him shrieked in fury. Light poured from every seam in Stone's body, blinding, tearing across the chamber in violent arcs. Machines in the walls shuddered, gears spinning into motion before locking again like a heartbeat struggling to restart. "Weakness!" It spat through Stone's mouth. "This flesh clings to dust. He was chosen, reshaped, remade. He is ours." Stone's own voice cracked through the noise. "No, I didn't choose." He doubled over, clutching at his chest as if the words themselves tore at him. His body convulsed, wings thrashing. The alien crown above, that vast lattice of unknowable machinery, began to pulse in rhythm with his struggle, as though his very identity had become its engine. Mac, battered though he was, dragged himself closer. His legs screamed in protest, but he didn't stop until he was only feet away. "You're bloody wrong about him," he said, glaring not at Stone, but at the power speaking through him. "Stone's no one's toy. He's stubborn, pig-headed, and mean as sin. And if you think you can erase that, you've got another thing coming." Stone's blade slashed outward in a reflexive arc. Mac barely ducked it, the heat singeing his hair. But the stroke hadn't been aimed true. It was wild, desperate, as though Stone fought even his own hand. Ace, summoning the last scraps of strength he had, reached through the psychic link that tied him to the shard embedded in his chest. He pressed the connection outward, not in an attack, but as a lifeline, a tether. "Feel this," he thought, forcing every memory he had of Stone into that thread. The mud of their first battlefield, the crude laughter in barracks, the sound of Stone swearing at Mac over a burnt ration tin. Stone roared, collapsing onto his hands. His wings flared, cracked, and splintered into shards of light that rained across the floor. The human and the inhuman warred visibly on his body now, half armored in impossible alloys, half bare flesh trembling with strain. His head snapped up. One eye glowed with vessel light, the other human, bloodshot and wild. "Mac!" Stone gasped. "Ace!" Then, over top, louder, drowning him out, "They are nothing. They will be unmade. You are us, and we are infinite." The words collided in his throat, bursting into an incoherent howl that rattled the entire chamber. The floor split in jagged lines. Columns shuddered, releasing jets of steam. The alien crown groaned as if under unbearable weight. Mac stared, jaw set, heart hammering. For the first time since this nightmare began, he didn't see an enemy. He saw Stone, truly saw him, locked in the fight of his life, a fight he couldn't win alone. And Mac wasn't about to let him lose. "Hold on, brother," Mac said, voice raw with grit and fury. "You're not done yet. Not while we're here." Stone screamed again, a sound caught between man and God, and the chamber screamed with him. The walls cracked. The ceiling rained fragments of alien stone. Light tore through fissures in the floor as though the very planet bled fire. And at the center of it all, Stone knelt, shaking, breaking, fighting himself with such violence that the crown itself began to fracture. Mac and Ace braced against the storm, knowing with absolute certainty the battle had changed. It was no longer man against machine. It was Stone against his own soul. And all they could do was keep him anchored long enough to survive the verdict.
That is the end for this one. Make sure you come back for more, and like and subscribe. See you soon.